Good morning, everyone. Before start, I must thank the organizers, especially Dr. Vitul Gupta and his team for arranging such a nice meeting here at Bathinda. And this is the 8th meeting consecutively which he is organizing, and it is very nice. We came yesterday and everything is very much in time, very nice arrangements, very good food. So the topic of my subject is utility of preoperative diagnosis in renal diseases. This study is based on the pathological examination of 50 nephrectomy specimens, which was conducted in the Department of Pathology at Government Medical College and Rajendra Hospital, Patiala, because I retired from that institute, and a good number of cases, they come there and nephrectomies are done. Although you know these days a lot of hue and cries there in media and newspapers that the kidneys are being stolen, and sometimes even for some cancer, if the kidney is removed and they get some chance to write something in the newspapers. Nephrectomy specimens which we examined, I will be showing you some pictures which you may not be, which you may not have seen, but have just learnt in the books that these are some lesions, but rarely some lesions come, and we have examined those. And these were received from the departments of urology and department of surgery. Clinical findings, gross examination, and microscopic findings were recorded and analyzed. Nephrectomy is the surgical removal of diseased or damaged kidney. Partial nephrectomy, also called as nephron sparing or kidney sparing surgery, it is the removal of only the tumor and saving the rest of the kidney, which is not done as a routine. The surgeon may cut half of the kidney for a small lesion or small tumor, 1 centimeter, while another surgeon may be able to save 90% of the kidney. Radical nephrectomy, which is being done in cancer cases or in pyelonephritis cases, is the removal of the entire kidney with a section of the ureter. And simple nephrectomy is to remove healthy kidney and a section of the ureter from a donor, either living or deceased, for the transplantation purpose to the recipient. So indications: non-functioning or hydronephrotic kidney with infected stone containing areas with normal kidney on the other side, because the other kidney should be normal. Then renal transplant or chronic dialysis when the kidney becomes infected or considered as a cause of secondary hypertension. Then malignant tumors like renal cell carcinoma, Wilms tumor in children, and metastasis. Then other indications can be renal tuberculosis, which may be involving most of the part of the kidney with resistant organisms. Then adult renal polycystic disease, severe trauma to the kidney, congenital abnormalities, and donor's nephrectomy for renal transplant. So the study which we have taken, it includes 50 cases, and the distribution of cases is like this, that there were non-neoplastic lesions, there were neoplastic lesions, and there were amongst the neoplastic were benign lesions and the malignant neoplasms. The maximum number were non-neoplastic, that is the chronic pyelonephritis. Most of the clinicians, they come in contact with such patients of kidney disease, that is the chronic pyelonephritis. 27 cases were there, which include chronic pyelonephritis 26 and 1 xanthogranulomatous chronic pyelonephritis. 1 case each of renal tuberculosis, amoebic abscess, and trauma. Although when I was at Amritsar some years back, we saw a case of actinomycosis also of the kidney, but this is the study from Patiala. Then neoplastic lesions, benign lesions, and malignant lesions. Benign lesions include one case each of renal papillary adenoma and hemangioma. And amongst malignant are the renal cell carcinoma, Wilms tumor or nephroblastoma, transitional cell carcinoma, and metastatic renal cell tumor in one case. So I will be briefly explaining each lesion, although it is a pathologist work, but still 11 cases of renal cell carcinoma accounting for 22% of the total 50 nephrectomy specimens. 6 patients were males and 5 were females. The youngest was a 35-year female and the eldest was a female of 65 years. Maximum, that is the 6 patients were between 51 to 60 years of age. Grossly, the size of the nephrectomies which were done for renal cell carcinoma varied from 10, 6, 2.5 to 19, 17, and 13 centimeter. Outer surface were irregular, multinodular, brownish, hemorrhagic, and necrotic. Cut surface, typical variegated appearance in most cases. And this is the histology. Were typical in most of the cases. Tumors were cellular and having scanty stroma, cells arranged in solid sheets, tubular, trabecular, and alveolar patterns. Cells were rounded or polygonal with clear or granular cytoplasm or mixture of them, and in one case there was invasion of the renal pelvis. Renal cell carcinoma is the most lethal of the urological malignancies, accounting for a large number of deaths each year. Nephrectomy is the usual treatment. However, after nephrectomy, renal cell carcinoma recurs in 20% to 40% of the patients with clinically localized disease. Gabberty et al. Reviewed a series of 328 evaluable patients with renal cell carcinoma operated by radical transabdominal nephrectomy with regional lymphadenectomy to assess the prognostic significance of various pathological parameters. The value of lymphadenectomy and of surgery of the venous tumor and of the venous tumor thrombus. From the review of literature, it seems that most important prognostic factors are synchronous metastasis and tumor grading. Then coming next to the transitional cell carcinoma, although basically transitional cell carcinomas arise in the urinary bladder, but in the renal pelvis where the lining is transitional epithelial lining, there are tumors of transitional epithelium, that is the transitional cell carcinoma. Amongst 50 cases of nephrectomies, there were 3 cases of transitional cell carcinomas, that is 6%. One was a male of 55 years and 2 were female, 66 and 78 years. Right kidney was involved in 2 and left was involved in 1 case. Clinically, all patients presented with hematuria. 2 had mild pain abdomen. Grossly, the size of the kidney having transitional cell carcinoma ranged from 11, 7, 2.5 to 13, 10, and 7 centimeter. Cut surfaces showed multicentric lesions filled with hemorrhagic fluid. Kidney architecture was lost and finger-like papillae were seen. Like in this case, grossly, one can see the finger-like or papillary structures even on gross examination. Well-formed, microscopically well-formed structures with central fibrovascular cores. These were surrounded by multi-layering of the malignant epithelial cells. Cellular as well as nuclear pleomorphism and a nuclear hyperchromatism was evident. Considerable number of the mitotic figures were present. In 2 cases, ureteric invasion was present. All the 3 cases had grade 3. So this is the microscopy. One can see the well-formed papillae and this is central fibrovascular core surrounded by the malignant epithelial cells. Transition cell carcinoma of renal pelvis and ureter is relatively uncommon. Smoking, occupational carcinogens, analgesic abuse, Balkan nephropathy are the risk factors. Cytogenetic studies revealed that most frequent aberration is the partial or complete loss of the chromosome 9. Excretory urography and retrograde pylography are the conventional diagnostic tools. However, ureteropyloscopy combined with cytology and biopsy is more accurate. grade and stage of the disease have the most significant impact on the survival of the patient. Then next, coming to the nephroblastoma or Wilms tumor, a tumor of children. Of the total 15 nephrectomies, we had 3 cases of Wilms tumor, that is 6%. All the 3 were females between 1 to 5 years of age. The youngest was a 1-year girl and the eldest was 5 years. Grossly, the tumors were huge. The size of the Wilms nephrectomies vary from 15, 10, 2 into 2, 19, 12 and 2.5. In Wilms tumors, the tumor is so huge it fills whole of the abdomen, and when we examine it grossly, it looks that the kidney is attached to the tumor. Kidney is small in size, the tumor is huge, and it looks on gross examination as if the kidney is attached to the tumor. Like in this case, this is a huge tumor and kidney is small. Outer surfaces were irregular, multinodular, brownish, hemorrhagic and necrotic. Most tumors had well circumscribed margins enclosed by renal capsule or fibrous pseudocapsule. Cut surface, typical variegated appearance was seen in most of the cases. And this is the microscopy. Blastemal and mesenchymal structures were abortive glomeruli. Blastemal cells were small, ovoid or spindled with hyperchromatic nuclei and high NC ratio, nucleocytoplasmic ratio. Stromal elements consist of fibrous tissue, skeletal muscles, immature blood vessels, and myxomatous areas. Nephroblastomas are soft, homogeneous, tan to gray in color, with occasional foci of hemorrhage and necrosis. Well circumscribed margins are there, enclosed by renal capsule, fibrous pseudocapsule, bilateral in 7% of the cases, and multifocal in 12% of the cases. Tumor can obtain a mixture of cells, blastemal cells, stromal cells, epithelial cells, and high degree of anaplasia associated with the poor outcomes. Wilms tumor is the most common pediatric renal tumor, which can present as a single nodule, as multifocal, unilateral, or as bilateral lesions. 3 histological components are there, that is blastemal, epithelial, and stromal. Classical triphasic Wilms tumor rarely presents diagnostic difficulty for pathologists. Pure blastemal type of Wilms tumor may be difficult to distinguish from the other embryonal small round cell blue tumors, including neoblastoma, primitive neuroendocrine tumor, Ewing sarcoma, desmoplastic, small round cell tumor, and lymphoma. Then coming to the metastatic cancer of the kidney. Although it looks odd that the kidney can get a metastasis from any other site, but there are cases, and we had one case, it was one nephrectomy specimen of the metastatic cancer amongst our total 15 nephrectomy cases, and it accounted for 2%. It was a 60-year female with metastasis of the squamous cell carcinoma of the cervix. Patient was a known case of cervical carcinoma for 3 years. Grossly, the specimen, nephrectomy specimen was 15 into 8 into 5 centimeter. Cortex and medulla could be identified. On cutting, unilocular cyst revealed multiple ulcerated lesions with thickened firm wall with areas of hemorrhage and necrosis. Microscopically, it showed islands of squamous cell carcinoma in the interstitium. These are the islands of squamous cell carcinoma in the interstitium of the kidney, and these are the glomeruli. Metastasis to the kidney is a rare entity, historically described in autopsy studies only. Primary cancers of lung, breast, cervix, skin like melanoma, then prostate cancer, liver, pancreas, intestine, lymphomas, sarcomas, etc. They can give metastasis in the kidney. Survival appeared to be longer in patients who are candidates for and are treated with surgery. Surgical intervention in carefully selected patients with oligometastatic disease and good performance status should be considered. A multidisciplinary approach with input from the urologists, oncologists, radiologists, and pathologists is needed to achieve the most optimal outcome for this specific patient population. In our case, the patient was a known case of carcinoma of cervix for the last 3 years. Then coming to benign tumor, renal papillary adenoma. We had a single case of papillary adenoma of the kidney amongst 50 nephrectomy patients. It was a 25-year patient, female, who presented with a history of dull pain in the right flank off and on. She had hematuria and burning micturition. I remember this patient was from Naba, and she had been coming to pathology department again and again to to ask something and to tell about her condition, and she remained okay for a good number of years. Her nephrectomy was performed with clinical diagnosis of renal cell carcinoma. So in this case, the carcinoma diagnosis was given, although it was not a carcinoma, although it was a functional, and also it was a functional kidney. Grossly, the specimen was 11 into 5 into 3 centimeters with circumscribed gray-white area, 3 into 3 centimeter near the hilum of the kidney. This is the area where from the pieces were taken, and here it was the lesion, pieces were taken for processing, and no invasion was seen on even gross examination. Microscopically, circumscribed lesion of the papillary neoplasm having single layer of tall or small cells. They had abundant granular cytoplasm and regular small round nuclei, and there was no invasion grossly as well as on microscopy. So this is the microscopy. Although it appears a papillary tumor and the renal cell carcinoma is also papillary, but the cells and the characteristic and the cytoplasm and the nucleus all were benign. The patient was well even after 3 years of follow-up. Histologically, papillary adenomas are characterized by varying proportions of the papillae and tubules formed by cuboidal cells with scant basophilic cytoplasm, similar to those of type 1 papillary renal cell carcinoma. Adenomas associated with papillary renal cell carcinoma tend to be multiple in number. In contrast, 100% of the papillary adenomas arising in other conditions have less than 2% adenomas. Then coming to hemangioma, again a benign tumor in which I think the kidney could be saved. Now you can see the gross examination. The tumor is a benign and lying only on the outside of this is the lesion. And if this much portion is resected, and if the pre-operative diagnosis is properly made, and only this much portion of the kidney is resected, then the kidney could be saved. There was one case of hemangioma of the kidney recorded in a study. It was a 65-year female who was clinically diagnosed as a renal mass and preoperatively renal cell carcinoma. Final aspiration cytology was not got done because it is also a very good investigation preoperatively to make a diagnosis. Grossly, the hemangioma was seen on outer surface, outer side as a circumscribed brownish spongy mass with no infiltration. Cortex and medulla were normal and easily identifiable, and you can see the microscopy also. All the blood vessels filled with the blood, normal blood vessels means proliferative blood vessels. And this is the closer view showing a capsule between the benign neoplasm. This is the capsule. This is renal tissue, and on this side is the benign neoplastic tissue hemangioma. Then traumatic kidney. Again, in this case, if the pre-operative diagnosis was properly made and utilized, then partial nephrectomy could have served the purpose. It was one of the 50 cases, and grossly the kidney measured 8 into 4.5 into 2 centimeter with perinephric fat and the ureter. At the lower pole, a brownish mass 4 into 4 centimeter filled with collateral blood was seen. Cut surface, cortex and medulla could be well appreciated because on this side the kidney is normal. Only here is the problem. On thorough history taking, when the patient's attendant came, and even after some days the patient came to the pathology department, I asked what happened actually, why had you this problem? So he told that ਮੱਝ ਨੇ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਸਿਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੱਜ ਗਿਆ ਇੱਥੇ Majda Singh. So, because of that injury, there was hemangioma, and the problem was there, and preoperatively a diagnosis of quari renal cell carcinoma was considered, and nephrectomy was done. Microscopy showed predominantly congestion of the blood vessels and hemorrhages. Tubules showed cloudy swelling, degeneration and necrosis. Acute inflammatory infiltrate in the surrounding necrosed and degenerated areas was seen. Then chronic pyelonephritis. Maximum number of the cases of the nephrectomies are everywhere of the chronic pyelonephritis, and in our study also, out of the 50, 27 cases, that is 54%, were chronic pyelonephritis. 15 accompanied by nephrolithiasis, and 11 had hydronephrosis, and 1 was xanthogranulomatous type of chronic pyelonephritis. Grossly outer surface of the kidney of the chronic pyelonephritis were irregularly scarred, cut surface having multi-loculated small and large cystic cavities of dilated calyces. Some had calculi, even Stang or type of calculi. Cortex and medulla in such cases is not differentiated, cannot be differentiated. So in these cases also, the cortex and medulla cannot be differentiated. These kidneys were non-functional, hence nephrectomized. Patients presented with pain on the respective side, fever, dysuria, proteinuria, pyuria, and hematuria. Microscopically, almost all the cases are typical picture of chronic pyelonephritis, that is chronic inflammatory infiltrate with lymphoid follicles like this in the interstitium, periglomerular fibrosis with hyalinization of the sum of the glomeruli, and at places pinkish material seen in the tubules which look like the follicles of the thyroid. So it is called as thyroidization of the renal tubules. Then xanthogranulomatous chronic pyelonephritis, one case. It was a 60-year male presented with a history of intermittent fever, loss of weight, heaviness on right back. Ultrasound showed right-sided severe hydronephrosis and pelvic-ureteric junction obstruction. IVP was non-functional kidney, and grossly external surface was scarred. Cut surface showed cortex and medulla could not be differentiated again in this condition. Microscopy. In addition to the other features of the chronic pyelonephritis, there were numerous foamy macrophages with occasional foreign body type of giant cells, hyalinized glomeruli, atrophic tubules, chronic and some acute inflammatory cells in the interstitium. Xanthogranulomatous pyelonephritis is an uncommon chronic destructive granulomatous process of renal parenchyma in association with long-term urinary tract obstruction and infection. It affects females more common than the males, with a wide range of age from newborn to elderly people. Almost all patients are symptomatic, having flank or abdominal pain, lower urinary tract symptoms, fever, palpable mass, gross hematuria, and weight loss. They have leukocytosis and anemia. Urine culture most often reveals Escherichia coli and Proteus. Imaging studies demonstrate diffuse or focal form. Histologically, xanthogranulomatous pyelonephritis presents a granulomatous inflammatory infiltrate composed of xanthoma cells, neutrophils, lymphocytes, plasma cells, and multinucleated giant cells. The differential diagnosis includes clear cell renal cell carcinoma, papillary renal cell carcinoma, sarcomatoid renal cell carcinoma, leiomyosarcoma, malakoplakia, and megalocytic interstitial nephritis. Both antibiotics and surgery can be the treatment options depending upon the patient's disease status. Then coming to the renal tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is such a disease which can involve any organ, and we have seen cases of tuberculosis in the prostate, tuberculosis in the parotid gland, tuberculosis in the thyroid gland. So similarly, tuberculosis of kidney is not that uncommon, and we had one case of tuberculous pyelonephritis. It was a 35-year female who had pain of abdomen and left back and paraumbilical area. Pus cells and RBCs were there in the urine. Cut surface, ultrasound showed calculi and a mass with some necrosis masquerading tumor mass. Grossly, the nephrectomy showed gray, white, solid and cystic areas with necrosis along with the calculi and in the calyces. Microscopy revealed typical tuberculous granulomas with lymphocytes, epithelioid cells, Lange type of giant cells, and caseous necrosis as seen anywhere in the any organ. AFB was negative because AFB is positive most often when it is a pulmonary tuberculosis. Urogenital tuberculosis presents 27% of the extrapulmonary cases. Renal involvement of tuberculosis can be a part of the disseminated infection or a localized genitourinary disease. Renal involvement by tuberculous infection is underdiagnosed in most health care centers. Most patients with renal tuberculosis have sterile pyuria, which can be accompanied by microscopic hematuria. The diagnosis of urinary tract tuberculosis is based upon finding of the pyuria in the absence of common bacterial infections. Tuberculosis is a disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The disease remains as an important public health problem in developing countries. Extrapulmonary tuberculosis became more common with the advent of the infection with the human immunodeficiency virus and by the increase in the number of the organ transplantations, which also leads to immunosuppression of thousands of persons. Then we had one case of renal amoebic abscess. Although we just listen in the books, read in the books that there is amoebic abscess in different organs. And I have seen one case of amoebic abscess in the brain also, which was a topsy specimen, and we presented it in Australia in a conference, and it was subsequently published also. So now this was a case of left kidney, 40-year male presented with a history of fever, heaviness, microscopic hematuria, ultrasound and IVP revealed non-functional kidney, CT scan with SOL, ureteric calculus, nephrectomy was done, and with a pre-operative diagnosis of renal cell carcinoma. Grossly, it measured 11 into 8 into 5 centimeter with perinephric fat and ureter. On cutting, a circumscribed soft chocolate-colored area. As you know that Ancovis was is a chocolate colored in the center of the central portion of the kidney. Multiple pieces were taken for examination. Acute as well as chronic inflammatory exudate pieces from the peripheral area show of the abscesses revealed numerous large sized cells with foamy cytoplasm and phagocytosis of RBCs. These were the amoeba or trophocytes of the amoeba. Amoebiasis is a common worldwide condition caused by protozoan parasite Entamoeba histolytica. It's a rare entity. It is rare to identify amoebiasis in stool examination from the patients with an amoebic renal disease or chronic amoebic abscess, liver abscess. Kidney is the fifth extraintestinal site of amoebic abscess formation involved in metastatic amoebic abscesses. Right kidney is more frequently involved in amoebic abscess, but in our case it was left kidney. So conclusion is that nephrectomy is a major surgical procedure done in various medical and surgical conditions like non-functional kidney and chronic pyelonephritis, staghorn type of malignancy, like calculi, malignancy like renal cell carcinoma, transitional cell carcinoma, and Wilms tumor. In cases of trauma, in cases of renal tuberculosis, pyelonephritis, actinomycosis, and amoebic abscesses. Appropriate and definitive pre-operative diagnosis can save kidney or prevent nephrectomy in some cases. Fine needle aspiration cytology under the guidance of CT scan or under the guidance of ultrasound and urine cytology can help definitive pre-operative diagnosis. Infectious medical diseases should be tried with non-surgical therapy if the extent of the damage is limited. So, thank you.